Some of the times, all of the times I would feel way down, or maybe too up to. I can't decide which of these lines to draw between the place you live or mine. You don't need to worry much, cause all you need, you know. And everything we've ever touched is everything you hold, trembling. Some of the times, and most of the times, back and forth, around again we go. Home to who? I'm in love with just one, two. Just one, two. Just one, two. I'm in love with just one. Love with just one, two. Just one, two. Just one, two. Just one, two. We gon' break out the trap, yo. If we make us a map, yo. And we use our tools. We use our tools. We gon' break out the trap, yo. If we make us a map, yo. We use your tools. Use your tools. Use your tools. When I was 5, I chose a side. My daddy would let me watch him work in a dark room. He make a bed, drop in a print, then rinse off the shiny black and white. That dark room is now alive. Colors flash and people drive. Secrets buried deep inside. Scenes that grow and scenes that try. Then some of the times, and most of the times, back and forth, around again we go. Home to who? We're in love with just one. Just one. Just one, two. Just one, two. Just one, two. Just one. Just one, two. We're in love with just one. Just one. Just one, two. Just one, two. Just one, two. Just one, two. We gon' break out the trap, yo. If we make us a map, yo. And we use our tools. We use our tools. Gotta use your tools. We gon' break out the trap, yo. If we make us a map, yo. And we use your tools. Use your tools.
Look, we all in love with the 1-2 that the drum do. But when the cash don't come through, what you gon' do? When the first of the month's due and the kids gotta eat, and you pray for the meals, but your bank account meek, and your dreams turn to nightmares, and you turn to the streets, and your cousin, the M, got LBs for the cheap, and you keep striking out on any job that you seek. Suddenly that trip to Memphis don't seem so bleak, at least till I get on my feet, cause you know I can't starve. This ain't what they meant when they said get a plant job, yet still here we are. Christmas the opportunist. If I ain't moving units, I guess I'm moving units.
We in the field. We changing up the city from the border to the paper mill. Throw your hat up, let that thing fly. Young buck swimming up and he standing by on the side. Registration and education, we got it all. But when they don't hear the truth, we tell them we got a brawl. Raise your hand back, we gon' make a new map. Don't appreciate me, then I gotta take my time back. North side to the south, better know that. Roots back on Oak Street where they raised me at. Mom and daddy taught me how to pro and how to react. Flipping lines, taken from the swag to the me at.
Just one, two. Just one. Just one, two. Just one, two. I'm in love with just one. I'm in love. Just one, two. Just one. Just one, two. Just one, two. We gon' break out the trap, yo. We make us a map, yo. And we use our tools. We use our tools. We gon' break out the trap, yo. If we make us a map, yo. Use your tools. The north side will help you live free. The east side will help you live right. The south side will help you build.
Good afternoon and welcome. I hope you are ready for this power hour to get this good soul food. We are just elated to have everyone that's joining us today. My name is Margaret Jones, and I will serve as our moderator for our forum entitled The Impact of Allen versus Milligan, and the power of the Black vote in Alabama. I am a member of the Selma Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and I'm also the chair of the Political Awareness and Involvement Committee. We are so excited to bring you this information. This is going to be an introduction to some and a reinforcement for many to really discuss and share the importance of voting in every election, but in particular, the upcoming election on March the 5th. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the president of the Selma Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Iris Brooks Beasley.
And thank you, Sora Jones, and good afternoon to each and every one of you that has taken the time out of your busy Sunday afternoon to join us. And I'm going to be kind of the hype person and ask you all to please like and share, because it is so very important that we have the opportunity to have as many viewers join us today for this very informative forum. Again, the impact of Allen versus Milligan, the power of the Black vote in Alabama. So please like and share. I want to go ahead on the front end and thank all of our speakers who are going to bring greetings to you. And I'll wait and allow them to be introduced to you by Sora Jones. But definitely, we are just so ecstatic with the three plaintiffs in this particular case that have joined us, the Selma Alumni chapter today, to present this information kind of from how it started, where it's been and where it's going, and how we can be helpful by voting, as that March 5th election is right around the corner. My plan was to count the number of days it is, but it's not far away. And we got to be ready. So again, we are happy to be on the cuff of that election coming up and kind of putting this particular topic, this very important topic, back on the forefront of our minds and our thinking. So again, thank you so much. Please like and share. And I'm going to send it back to Sora Jones to continue with our program of the afternoon.
All right. And remember, President Beasley said to like, share. If you have whatever social media platform that you're using, please stream it, because we need this message to go out to as many people as possible. Even for those individuals who may not be directly impacted, what I mean by not living in one of those counties, many of us know someone who lives in one of these new redrawn counties. So we want you to make sure that you share this information to as many people as possible, because we definitely want to make sure that we get the word out about the importance of voting. Delta Sigma Theta is social action. And remember, Delta Sigma Theta was the very first African-American sorority to participate in the suffrage movement. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our Alabama Social Action co-chairs. We have Mrs. Mary Harrington and Mrs. Alicia Somerville, who will bring greetings on behalf of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and our social action in the state of Alabama. Sorors.
Good afternoon. What a wonderful occasion. I hope my co-partner, Mary Harrington, has agreed to join us here today. And so we'll probably duplicate a lot of the things that are being said today. My name again is Alisa Somerville, not Alma. I saw it on the agenda, not Alma, but Alisa Somerville. I am a member of the Birmingham Alumni Chapter. I've been a member of the sorority for 38 years. And all that time, I belonged to Selma alumni, Montgomery alumni, Mobile alumni. I pledged in Mobile. Now I'm back in Birmingham again for the second time. Social action is all we do, is what we do. You know, right now we're talking about Delta Sigma Theta is founded on the principles of sisterhood, scholarship, service, and social action. And as Sora Jones said, our first act of social action was during the Women's Suffrage March of 1913 in March. We had only been founded about 6 weeks before we actually participated in this activity. I'm very, very happy today to see this subject, because gerrymandering is a is an inherited trait of our country that has separated, diluted, and dissolved the Black vote across the country. I am so excited that someone has challenged uh, the ruling here in Alabama, and as a result of the hard work of Evan and Shalala and others in this plaintiff case. I know it was long, I know it was horrible, and it was painful, but the results are awesome. We have an opportunity to have a second district that may have a majority vote for a minority candidate. That is exciting. This is what we should be doing. I know there are about 10 other states that are currently in litigation to do the same thing. You have set the example. I am so proud to be from Alabama and to be part of this history making event. And again, thank you all for the invitation. And I am looking so forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Sir Somerville. I believe that Sir Harrington will be brought on momentarily. Everybody is so excited. The stage is full. And so we're trying to make sure that we have room for her as well. But again, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is social action. And as you stated, this is huge. And there are so many states who are looking at what Alabama has done. There are actually some states who are in a current type of litigation, and we will find out more from our panelists who are also our plaintiffs that will provide more insight. So I think we have Sor Harrington that will be brought in so that she can also bring welcome and greetings as the other co-chair for social action in the state of Alabama. But as she is brought to the stage, remember to share on your social media platforms. We need you to encourage those to get out to vote. Anyone who's 18 years of age in Alabama, you must be registered to vote at least 15 days prior to the election. And remember, the primary is on March the 5th. Take someone, sign them up so that we can ensure that their information gets to the Secretary of State's office well ahead of time. I think when I looked on my calendar, 15 days before March 5th, I believe it is February the 17th, but I think that's a Sunday. So we're saying February the 15th, just to be safe. Make sure everything is there. We need to introduce those 18-year-olds to voting. Anyone who's able to get their rights back to vote, make sure that you help those individuals, because we definitely need to make sure that we show up at the polls, not only on this March 5th primary, but anytime we have an opportunity to vote, be it in a general election or your local election, because those local elections are just important as those elections where we're appointing our president. We need you to show up and vote when we have our school board elections, local elections for your attorneys, your district attorney. We need you there. And I think we have Sor Harrington who is coming on right now. So what we'll do, I think we may be having some technical difficulties with Sor Harrington. I am going to introduce you to the Honorable Judge Robert Bryant. He is the district judge for the Judicial Circuit, and he is going to bring greetings. Judge Bryant.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Sora Jones. I am especially grateful to be here. To the dazzling, devastating divas of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated and all the panelists that are present in this forum, I greet you, Robert D. Bryant, the District Court Judge of Perry County, Alabama, on behalf of the 4th Judicial Circuit, which includes Bibb, Dallas, Hale, Perry, and Wilcox counties. I serve as the first district court judge, African American, to ever be elected or appointed in Perry County, and currently probably the only male district court judge in the state of Alabama. The 4th Circuit, we have a strong impact, have been strongly impacted by the Voting Rights Act. Two of the 3 circuit judges are African American. 3 of the sheriffs in the 5 counties are African American. 4 of our circuit clerks are African American women, and we're extremely proud and understanding of the Voting Rights Act and its impact. This is an awesome event that you sponsored. We're so thankful for that. And I am especially grateful to greet you as a citizen of Marion, Perry County, Alabama, where a young man named Jim Lee Jackson was murdered, and his death led to a march from Selma to Montgomery, which led to the very legislation that we are talking about today in this Milligan case. You know, sometimes it gets, as Black people in this country, it seems as if we're on some type of never-ending sad merry-go-round of struggle. And but I heard a song this morning, and it said, "We are climbing Jacob's ladder. Every rung goes higher. Every rung goes higher." And in some point in that song, it says, "Keep on climbing. We'll make it." So I hope and I encourage that we will treat these ever present, ever constant challenges not as this merry-go-round saga of sorrow, but as a rung that we step higher and higher. If we keep on climbing, we'll make it. Thank y'all so much for inviting us, and I look forward to hearing from this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Bryant. And I really liked how you shared those statistics. We talked about the vote. And he talked about how just within the county, the judicial circuit in which he serves, that many of the individuals who are serving in these local positions, they were elected by their constituents that look like them. So it's vitally important that you vote in these local elections so that you have representation that will ensure that your voice is heard. So right now we will bring in Soar Harrington. I believe that she's able to join the stage. There she is. Soar Harrington. Let's see if she's going to speak. If not, we're going to let her work out her technical difficulties. We're going to go to the Honorable Robert Stewart, who is our state senator. We are so glad to have you here today because we know that some of your constituents in some of these newly impacted counties, they can not only have a voice, but can see from someone who may look like them. So without further ado, Senator Stewart.
Good afternoon. I would like to express my gratitude to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the Selma Alumni Chapter, as well as the distinguished panelists, Sister Kadita Stone, Brother Evan Milligan, Sister Dowdy, who did the heavy lifting to bring Black representation, the idea or the values of increasing Black representation to fruition. So I'm forever indebted to you all for those good deeds. It's an honor to serve Alabama District 23 and the state of Alabama. I am a son of Selma. I live in Selma. And 4 of the 8 counties that I represent are positively affected by the Milligan lawsuit. And those counties are Butler, Clark, Conecuh, and Monroe counties. This impactful legislation is so key. This impactful case is critical in highlighting the strides that we have made in the pursuit of justice. And I just it's important that we underscore the crucial importance of Black voting power. We know that when we elect Black officials, that means justice, not just for the Black community, but justice in a fair society for everyone. And we've always been patriotic and fought for a just and more fair society. We know the Black voting power is critical because it is the cornerstone of positive societal change at large. And we have to do what we can to combat gerrymandering. and the dilution of voting power. This is not just about voting. This is about citizenship and having everyone having the same rights. Many times we hear about gerrymandering just affecting voting, but you're also gerrymandered out of opportunities by not having fair representation. You're gerrymandered out of resources as well. And so this is key to have representatives that are empathetic to our fight and our plight. And I want to just encourage everyone to stay engaged. And anybody in our community, we know we need to ensure that they get out and vote in this crucial election. I know that this will be a worthwhile and critical discussion. And count me, your Alabama State Senator, as a friend as well as an advocate. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Stewart. And one thing that really resonated with me, he said gerrymandering, not only just looking at the lines of a map, but gerrymandered out of opportunities and gerrymandered out of resources. And the opportunity to have someone who's empathetic toward the needs of those individuals within that community. I like that. Gerrymandered out of opportunities and resources, which is why it's so important that we get everybody to the poll on March the 5th and subsequently every date after that. We just need you to vote and make your voice heard. I'm going to check one more time. Hopefully the third time is a charm for Sora Harrington to bring her greeting. So we're still having some technical difficulties, but what we'll do, if we're able to get back to her, we will definitely let her have an opportunity to bring greetings as the co-chair social action for the state of Alabama. I am in awe of our panelists. I know I think I was a little starstruck when we did a run through, because as I told them, these are the individuals that our children will be reading about in the textbooks. These are the ones that will forever go down, that just said, okay, enough is enough. We want to fight and ensure that we have fair representation. So on June the 8th, 2023, the U.S. Supreme Court issued its decision in Allen v. Milligan. In this historic win for voting rights, the United States Supreme Court ruled in Allen versus Milligan in favor of Black voters, affirming the district court's order striking down Alabama's 2021 enacted congressional map for violating the Voting Rights Act of 1965 for diluting Black political power and requiring that Alabama redraw its congressional map. We are elated and ecstatic to have three of the panelists joining us today who went before the Supreme Court, who gave an oral argument. And again, on June the 8th, 2023, the U.S. Supreme Court issued its decision and sided with those plaintiffs. The first plaintiff that I would like to introduce you to is Shalila Dowdy. She is a native of Mobile, Alabama, and she earned her graduate degree from West Point. She earned her Master's of Arts and Leadership Studies from the University of Texas, El Paso, and she's currently in law school at Southern University. She is currently she's the president of Stand Up Mobile, and she is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Many of us know her as Delta Fierce, but she is a fierce advocate for ensuring that the Black voice is heard. So, Sor Dowdy, I want to ask you the first question. The first question I'd like to ask you is, can you explain the significance of this case from your point of view and the Voting Rights Act? And if you also want to give our listeners and those who are watching live, give them some additional background information on you and what made you want to start this fight for advocacy in the state of Alabama.
So just the background on me, you mentioned I went to West Point. So I'm a major in the United States Army, served on active duty. Now I'm in the reserves. And so I've been fighting for the American citizens. So why not fight for the people of Alabama? I'm the second vice president of the Mobile NAACP branch. So it is in my blood, it's in my DNA to be involved when I see that there's an issue, especially when there's an issue concerning Black folks. And so the significance of this case, Allen v. Milligan, it was originally called Milligan versus Merrill because we sued John Merrill, but elections. Allen is now our new Secretary of State, and it is basically the most important redistricting case to come before the United States Supreme Court in recent history. The court's decision is a historic win in the fight for voting rights in the face of countless continued attacks on democracy, and some of those attacks have been within our state. In 2013, we had the ruling of Shelby v. Holder, which gutted the Voting Rights Act. It's an unprecedented victory for the voters and Black communities across the country, reaffirming key protections established by Congress in the Voting Rights Act during a time of countless attacks on the right to vote. Decision basically, it reaffirmed the legal test for evaluating claims under the VRA first adopted in the 1980s. And so we are known to lead the way when it comes to voting rights in our state. You know, you have the history of Selma and what happened on Bloody Sunday and just our people simply fighting for their right. And so we are now actually in the state of Alabama leading the way once again, 50 plus years later for Black folks across the South.
I love it. I love it. And I love how you said that you fought for all of the citizens in this country. Why not fight for Black people? I love it. I love it. So simple yet eloquent. And I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. And I look forward to continue seeing great things from you in the future. You know, we've had these conversations. I feel like you're like my little sister, but I'm just so proud of everything that you're doing. The next panelist that I'd like to introduce you to is to Evan Milligan. Evan Milligan is the executive director of Alabama Forward, which is a statewide civic engagement table advancing the efforts of nonpartisan organizations throughout Alabama to expand the voter base, protect voting rights, and make election systems as accessible as possible. He is married and has 2 children that we were able to hear the other night. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Evan. And Evan, similar question as Shalila. Can you explain the significance of this case from your vantage point and the Voting Rights Act?
Thank you so much. And thank you again for organizing this panel and really all of the ways that the Deltas here in Alabama have been a part of this journey with us as plaintiffs and with Alabama Forward. I don't need to remind y'all that, one of the people that's worked hard on your social action committee, Kanisha Brown, was one of our founding board members and was really the person that recruited me to the job. And so I'm sorry if you hear my kids in the background.
It's okay. It is okay.
We running on one parent, the other one's traveling for work. I'm sorry. But really, Alabama Forward is a membership-based organization. So a lot of those deltas that I'm mentioning, I'm not just saying that figuratively. They were the ones that were saying, and our other members, we want you to be involved in redistricting in 2021. And so being involved meant working with partner groups, with our member organizations. I know some of y'all have heard or seen some of the content produced by Alabama Values as far as what they do on social media. And it was just an all hands on deck effort to make sure that people had access to training, resources to tell other community members about the importance of redistricting, because we knew that orientation would not be provided by our state. And it was an important role for us to fill because this was the first cycle of redistricting without the pre-clearance function that had been played by the Department of Justice prior to the Supreme Court's decision in Shelby versus Holder. And so before 2013, every other cycle of redistricting since 1965 in states like ours, the federal government they had the authority to look at the maps before the state governments had a chance to vote on them. But that provision, which was from Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, was actually pretty much taken off the books in that Supreme Court ruling, Shelby versus Holder. So 2021 was the first cycle of redistricting without that. That meant that citizens pretty much had to play that oversight role. And that's what we did. It's been an honor to be associated with the case, to play this role with my co-plaintiffs. And it's also something that I hope all of us understand, that we have to continue to dig in, that we have to make sure that we do what we do to not only show up at the polls, but it's not enough to vote. That's really just the beginning. We have to make sure that those folks that are voted into these offices bring home resources and policies and legislation that actually benefit our communities. So you asked about the Voting Rights Act. One thing that's very critical is that Congress passes the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. And those will be pieces of legislation that we'll hopefully be able to talk about a little bit more today. But without us showing up to vote, taking advantage of this new opportunity in Congressional District 2, legislation like that won't even be a possibility. So thank you again for having us, and look forward to today's discussion.
Absolutely. Our pleasure. But did you hear what he said, everyone? He said that if we don't take this opportunity that's coming on March the 5th, if we don't get out and we vote, that we won't have the opportunity with these new opportunities that are on the forefront with the John Lewis and the Freedom to Vote Act, that if we don't have the right individuals who are there to bring home the resources and the policy that affects our community, it's all for naught. So we need you to, and that's the second person who said that. Remember, Senator Seward said the same thing, someone who can bring home those resources and enact policy that will have that positive impact on our community. And last but not least, I would like to introduce you to Kadita Stone. She is one of the third plaintiffs who's here with us today. I'm telling you, we have these like I said, I'm in awe of these individuals who are in front of us. Kadita is a graduate of Troy University, and she has a Bachelor of Science degree in American Sign Language and Spanish with a minor in International Relations. She currently serves as the Community Organizer Manager with the Southern Poverty Law Center. Welcome, Kadita. Same question. Can you explain the significance from your vantage point of this case and its impact on the Voting Rights Act?
Yes, well, first I want to say thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I'm super grateful to be here. Very similar to what my co-plaintiffs have said, this was a case that wasn't just setting the precedent for our state, but it really set the precedent for the entire country. What Evan just explained about not having Section 4B and 5 of the Voting Rights Act only left us with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And so Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act says you cannot discriminate based upon race in any voting procedure. But what Alabama did by leaving out particularly the Black and Brown communities in Alabama, they violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And so because we didn't have Section 4B and Section 5, this was really the only piece we had of the Voting Rights Act, which is why, similar to what Evan mentioned about it being imperative that Congress passes the John Lewis Advancement Act.
Thank you, Kadita. So the next question that I would like to ask, just some information. Do you have concerns about this case as far as it being ongoing or the potentiality for other cases? And are we completely done with litigation concerning this case?
So we are not done with litigation. There's the option to appeal and appeal and appeal. Y'all know how when people are on death row and they have been sentenced 20 years beforehand and you're like, okay, so what's going on? You have the option to appeal, and Alabama does not want to take this L. They do not want to lose. And so in order to get past this upcoming election cycle that we have a trial in February of 2025. The date has been set, and that trial will basically be for the map that the State House drew in the summer of 2023, where the new district was only 39% Black, where they basically was playing in our faces. That map has not had its day in court. Basically, it basically went in front of the lower court, and they were like, "Y'all didn't do what we told you to do. You didn't do what the United States Supreme Court told you to do. So we're going to appoint a map drawers to get it right." And so basically that will be what we will be in court for. But the new issue that has arisen has been a decision from the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals out of Arkansas that basically said that regular voters or regular individual citizens and groups cannot bring lawsuits against the Voting Rights Act. And basically that's what we've done as individual plaintiffs. And we also had groups involved, such as the Alabama NAACP, Birmingham Ministries. And so no court has denied disability in the past. And so this could definitely jeopardize the Voting Rights Act in the future. And right now, that decision basically said that the government basically can only bring the lawsuits. And so I think the decision is going to go up to the Supreme Court and it's going to be in their hands. And so I say there's always somebody working behind the scenes. Like, you think we got to win, but you have to be proactive because somebody's always trying to throw something at you. So this is basically telling me don't get comfortable. There's always work to be done.
Wow. The 8th. So already regular people, they're trying to say that regular people can't bring, even though we knew that, or we could see that it was wrong with how the maps were drawn, that there's a possibility that regular individuals cannot bring cases against the Voting Rights Act, even if we know that it's unfair. Evan, you have anything you want to add?
Just to echo, that's one circuit, that's one federal circuit. So there's at least, I think, 11, 12 in total. So we're in the 11th circuit. That's the 8th circuit. So that's Arkansas and a collection of states. That decision won't have a bearing on Alabama and the other states that are in our circuit. But what it does is it produces conflict in the federal law and in the ways that courts are interpreting this. So what happens when you have two circuits that feel one way and other circuits? The Supreme Court has to resolve that. Or if you get a Congress that will pass a comprehensive legislation, package, they can actually get in front of the courts. I don't know that I would want the current court deciding that issue. And so how do we actually beat? What's the other option other than just to wait on the Supreme Court? That's where legislation like the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act come in. My main fear is that we become too cynical and too complacent. I know a lot of us we've been failed by government. We feel sometimes, what does it matter? And these are things that we encounter in our own family members, even in our own peer groups. This is not the time to feel like we have that wiggle room to joke around. People are spending a lot of money to roll back on our political power. And if we don't understand that, I don't know that we'll dig in with the soul power that I know our community has.
I mean, all I can do is just exhale. And I know sometimes you feel, like you said, we can become complacent. And as you mentioned, people are working hard behind the scenes. They're working hard. I mean, you all work hard. You all worked hard. But there are people who are working hard behind the scenes to really dismantle, to prevent, to discourage any adjective, verb that you want to use to keep certain people from having their voice heard. Kadita, what would you like to add? What do you do when he mentioned about the peer groups, or even some of the people within your own family who feel like, oh, no matter what I do, I still don't see where it's a benefit to me? What do you say to counter that, especially when it comes to the concern about, Shalila mentioned that it's already set for February 2025. They're ready. So
Yeah.
what do you do to counter? And what can we say to counter for those of us who aren't as well versed? What can the regular person? I'm one of those regular persons who's just learning from you all. But what can we say to help counter and continue that positive narrative to some of that the negative rhetoric, getting rid of it to just have some truth that we can share with these individuals?
Yeah, I think the first thing we have to do is be honest with ourselves and stop allowing the narrative of our vote doesn't change anything. Because if it didn't, why are they working so hard to erase it? Why are they working so hard to take it away? Similar to what Shalila said about, we get to one step and then it's like, oh no, it's another one. So it's like it's a constant goal posting move situation. And that's exactly what the Eighth Circuit Court has done. It's a dangerous ruling that they have. I know Evan mentioned Alabama is not in in the Eighth Circuit Court, but the states that are is Arkansas, Minnesota, Missouri, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, and so those states are at risk of pretty much can't sue those can't sue their state for violating Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And if we look at the country, we only have 7 Black attorney generals across the country out of all 50 states. One thing that we know is they are working hard to take away our vote. So I don't think the likelihood of these states that don't have attorney generals that want to protect the interests of Black and brown individuals, I don't think they're going to go to court and say, hey, our state violated Section 2. They're just not going to do that. And so I think we have to continue to what Judge Bryant said earlier. We have to continue to keep on climbing, keep on fighting until we get the things that we need and the things that we deserve for our communities.
I just want to repeat one thing that you said. I think if I had the snaps up, I would have been snapping. You made the comment, you said that if when you said to just dispel the narrative about your vote not counting, because if our votes didn't count, people wouldn't be working so hard to prevent us from voting. That's like the snaps, claps, whatever you want to do. And I think for some of the younger people, I've been talking to my little cousins. I'm like, hey, you need to make sure you vote, and trying to help them understand, like, you have got to make your voice heard. And just to say that, just letting these young people know that people are working hard to keep your voice from being heard. Make sure your voice is heard. Go to that poll. Take somebody with you so that you can have representation that will opine and give your voice. Make sure that your voice is heard. So next question is what impacts does this Allen versus Milligan case have on Black people across the southern states? And I know you've touched on it a little bit. And if you don't mind, I want to start with Khadija. Khadija, if you want to just give us your understanding about what impact does Allen v. Milligan have on Black people across the southern states and what that's looking like now.
So like I mentioned earlier, this case did set precedent for other states. So basically that means the Supreme Court, before they ruled on other cases that also went before the courts with a Section 2 violation, they were told that until they ruled on the Allen v. Milligan case, they could not rule on those cases. And a lot of those cases came from southern states like Louisiana, Arkansas, North Carolina, Georgia, things like that. But the impact that it has is just generally fair representation. I think it's important when you have someone at the table who can see your worldview, who can understand where you come from, who can understand the type of community you live in, the types of things you need in your community, whether that be healthcare, better education, whether that be a better justice system. And those are the things that we need as Black and brown communities. And I want to quote my great co-plaintiff, Shalila Dowdy, but she always says, if we aren't at the table, we're on the menu. And so that's one of the things that we have to be mindful of when it comes to the type of impact this case has set for southern states.
Shalila, make sure you trademark that because we need to put it on some shirts and wear that. We may need to make sure you trademark it. Somebody may get it, But and thank you, Khadija, because I've started to think of the wise sage philosopher, someone who I admire, Tupac Shakur. The eyes are on us. The eyes were on the state of Alabama. And you mentioned that you just said, we got to see what Alabama's going to do. And Shalila mentioned it earlier. Evan mentioned it earlier that Alabama has been a strong foothold when it comes to that fight for justice for Black and brown people. And so, Evan, what would you like to add outside of what Khadija has shared? She mentioned about Louisiana. They're already taking up a similar case. What would you like to add to that point about what this case has on other southern states and the African Americans across the country?
I think really just building on what Khadija just said, there was a victory that actually happened as recently as last week. The case, there were a lot of cases that were filed around the same time. It just so happened that ours had a slightly earlier start, and it was so led to the Supreme Court taking it up first. But the case that came out of Louisiana, it's called Robinson versus Landry. They weren't far behind us, so they put them on pause, like Khadija was saying, while they resolved ours. And as a result of the law that was created with the outcome of our case, it put them in Louisiana in position for their federal government to tell their they don't call it a legislature. I forget what the name of it is, but their legislative body, they had to go back and make a map. And they watched our process play out the same way the court told our legislature to do it. They didn't do it, so then we had to do more in the lower court. Their legislative body said, let's not do that. Let's actually create it ourselves. And they actually did create, similar to here, a second majority minority district there in Louisiana. They resolved that last week. So that's another victory for our peers and the group that's there that does work similar to Alabama Forward. It's actually a big sister organization. It's called the Power Coalition. They were very much involved in the work, and Ashley Shelton is their executive director. They poured hours into it, same as we did. And so hopefully this is a trend that continues in Georgia and Florida and other parts of the South where we have these sorts of cases. But just so y'all know, this is also impacting Mexican communities as far as Washington State. This helped create a majority Mexican or Latinx Spanish-speaking district in the Northwest. So this is really impacting people of color around the country, and I hope that we can see these victories and see them as a source of pride and a source of encouragement to stay engaged, because there's going to be so much negativity, disinformation, deep fakes going on. The closer we get, we see the things that were happening to Taylor Swift just this past weekend, people creating images. These things are going to continue. The closer we get to November, it's going to be something like that every day. If we don't take account of these moments where we win and where we actually see our power, it's easy to get caught up in those distractions. So hopefully we pay attention to the ways where we're winning around the country as well.
Well said. Well said. Do not be distracted. Pay attention. Follow these groups like Alabama Forward. You have people here, Stand Up Mobile. You have people right here who can help you have the language, counter the narrative, so that we can make sure that the disinformation is not something that's just readily spread across our community. Shalila, what would you like to add?
Basically the impact of the case is that for me, it's giving Black people hope across the South. And the Louisiana case is mentioned throughout our fight. Louisiana actually had a role where they supported us. When we went to the United States Supreme Court for our oral arguments, Power Coalition, the organization that Evan mentioned, they brought a bus of students from the HBCUs, Dillard, Xavier, Southern, to DC to support us and our movement. And it was great to see, Black people in a sister state stand alongside of us. I've actually had the opportunity to personally witness this all, because Monday through Thursdays, I am in Louisiana. I'm in Mobile right now, but in Louisiana, I attended one of their court hearings. And throughout the case, we were in New Orleans. I'm sitting in the court hearing, and all I kept hearing was Allen v. Milligan. I'm like, am I in Alabama right now, Louisiana? So it was a in-person experience of being able to witness the role that our case played in them establishing their district. And so I've done some work in Louisiana. Whenever I am over there, I was aiming to support them in their efforts of advocating for a second majority Black district in their legislation. They did do the right thing. They drew their second majority district without the help of outsiders, and so now Black people in Louisiana will be able to elect a second Black person to Congress. South Carolina recently went in front of the United States Supreme Court for a case, and Georgia is as well. So basically, we paved the way, we opened the doors, and like Khadija said, we set the precedence for these other states. And so um, it's just awesome to see that your work isn't in vain. Sometimes you're like, why are we doing this? But you're able to see the results in our sister states. And so this isn't just a Black Alabamian problem. This is a Black people problem across the South. And through this case, lives are being changed. Communities are going to probably receive resources that they need and actually have their voices heard by people that they are able to elect who care about them and their communities.
Well, I'll be the first to say publicly, and I know you've heard it, I've said thank you, but to Evan, Khadija, Shalila, your work is not in vain. We see it. I know you all have probably I know you all are still having sleepless nights, but we appreciate all of the work that you're doing and that you're continuing to do to continue the fight to make sure that people who look like me, those who are children, so that my children's children can have a fair fight and have a good life. And so I just say thank you for all of the hard work. And again, some of our sister states, they're taking suit. They're looking to see what Alabama has done, what Alabama is doing. And I'm sure they will be looking in February 2025, just like all of us will be looking to see what will be the next steps. And we definitely want to know how we can help. And I'm sure you all will let us know prior to us adjourning how we can continue to help you all in this fight. So, Shalila, what would you say, and you've referenced it earlier, but if you could just really again clarify, what would you say you gained as a result of being involved in this seminal court case, Allen v. Milligan? Like I said, my son is going to be reading about you in the history book. So what would you say you have gained as a result of being involved in Allen versus Milligan?
A better understanding of the state of Alabama, a better understanding of the needs of Black folks across the South. I've gained a family of freedom fighters. We hear the names of those who did the work before us, MLK, Amelia Boynton, Ralph Abernathy. You hear those names and you're like, well, who are our modern day people? And so I know who our modern day people in Alabama are and in neighboring states like Louisiana. So I've gained a family of freedom fighters. And I know that when it comes to continuing to do the work in our state, I know who to go to. And we got issues such as absentee ballots. Assisting people with their absentee ballot in Alabama right now is under attack. And I know who to turn to, what organizations to turn to, and who can provide me with insight on how to organize our people to achieve the results that we need when it comes to making progress in our state. So it's been a learning experience. I've learned, I continue to learn. I am consistently motivated to do the work, because sometimes you feel like you're alone in doing the work, especially for me when you're in Mobile. We're a little cut off from the fight in Birmingham, and especially the fight in Montgomery. And so I know I can reach out to my counterparts across the state when it comes to doing this work. And so it's been very rewarding, and I'm just ready to continue to make the change that I know that is needed in our communities.
Well, my dear sister, you are also one of those persons who's a go-to when it comes to this fight for Alabama. You and Evan and Khadija, you are the ones that we'll mention when we mention those names about those who said, hey, this is not right. What can we do? You are the names that we are with. Your names are the ones that are not whispered. Your names are the ones that are spoken loudly in the state of Alabama. Evan, what would you like to add? What can you say? What did you gain as a result of being involved in Allen versus Milligan?
Well, 2021 was a rough year. We saw the Confederate flag raised in the U.S. Capitol for the first time. A lot of us lost relatives during the pandemic times. I was really concerned, like, where are we going, family wise, movement work wise, country wise, and over the course of working with this case, we were able to see leaders emerging that weren't already positioned prior to this experience. and watching and being a part of that and seeing people where no matter what happens after this, we didn't just lay down and just take it. We actually stood up. We stood on our rights. Um, and no matter what would have happened, that would have been important to me, because not only do we see leaders emerging that we didn't have, but like they actually have some backbone, and we were tested. And so now, this was our first time having a redistricting coalition in this state. We didn't need one in the same way prior to 2021 because we had pre-clearance and the federal oversight. Now going into 2031, we have all of these people, all of the folks that are on this webinar right now. We've all gone through this together. So that means that all of us are stronger and more aware going into this next 7 years. That makes us more dangerous. I like that. I'm not a person that just likes to stay down, lay down, and let people roll over me. I'm not. That's not me. So to see a community of people find that at the same time, if you do activism work, you live for moments like that, and that gave me an experience of that I honestly wasn't even expecting.
Let me give you your snaps, Evan. Let me give you your snaps. I love it. Stood on our rights. And one thing you said that has some backbone. Has some backbone. Let me give you some snaps. And you saying just that you're stronger and more aware, so that makes you even more powerful. I love it. And I'm here for it. I'm here to support you all every step of the way. As Evan stated, he's got people that are right now on this virtual panel who are stronger, more aware, and are ready for these next 7 years, who are actually doing the work to support individuals in Alabama. And I want to say, Shalila mentioned it, that this is the time where we have an opportunity to have a second minority congressperson in our state with this new map. The opportunity to have two. Kadita, what would you like to add? What would you say you gained as a result of being involved in this case, outside of really liaising with Evan and Shalila? But what did you gain as a result of being involved in Allen v. Milligan?
Yeah, I think the obvious thing here is I gained a chance at fair representation. I think, we've just gone too long without our needs being heard as a community. And nothing makes me more proud to be able to put on for my community, or in the words, since we were quoting rappers, in the words of Young Jeezy, put on for my city. So definitely that. But also for me personally, I think a greater sense of why I'm in this work. Like Shalila mentioned earlier, this work isn't easy. Sometimes it does get tiring. Sometimes you do want to give up. But I know that because I continued on in this fight and continued to organize with folks across the state about redistricting, it really just taught me like my reasoning why I'm here and how I'm going to continue to be here. How I'm going to continue to advocate for my community and do the things that need to be done in order for us to have fair rights all across the board, and not just in voting rights, but in healthcare, in education, criminal justice, environmental justice, really in every single injustice you can think of that the Black and Brown community suffer from.
You mentioned it: education, healthcare, environmental. All of those issues are plaguing many of the counties in this Black Belt as we speak. And with many of those counties, some of them are a part of the new redrawn map, where again, the gerrymandering with not having adequate resources, not having adequate opportunities. This is the time for us to ensure that we have a seat at the table, and that what did you say again, Kadita? What is Shalila saying? We're going to trademark and put on the shirts that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Is that
she
it?
asked you. That's fine. But that's it. If you're not on the if you're not at the table, you're gonna be on the menu.
Yes, right.
Basically.
Go ahead and tell us. And I know that we could be here for the next 15 hours because you all are just a walking wealth of knowledge. And I could sit here and listen all day. I've been jotting down my notes on how I continue to help dispel the narrative. before we get to our conclusion and wrap up and see if we have any questions that any of our guests who are on social media would like to add, Senate Bill 1, I know Shalila, you referenced it just ever so slightly. If you would like to expound on that and how that could also have an impact on what's ahead in the future.
Yes. So when it comes to absentee ballot, I worked on election. I've worked on campaigns. I've worked for the city of Mobile in our absentee ballot office. And when it comes to elections, our community, sometimes we like to go to our elders, go into our communities, to let them know, hey, it's election time. Do you need assistance with absentee voting? So our state, to me, they make absentee ballot voting complicated because you have to mail in a copy of your ID. Who has printers? Everybody doesn't have a printer. You have to mail in a request form. They mail you the ballot, then you got to mail it back to them. It's just a complicated process, but it's complicated because they don't want us to vote. Like Khadija said, if they did not want us to vote, they wouldn't have all these laws in place to keep us from voting. We don't have same-day voter registration. We have a 2-week cutoff time limit for that. We don't have early voting. And so we have voter suppression tactics in place in Alabama that a lot of us we're not paying attention to. So right now, Senate Bill 1 is on the docket. This was on the docket last season, but they just ran out of time in the last session. So now it's up first. And basically they want to criminalize anybody assisting anyone with an absentee ballot, even if you're just printing out the form that's on the Secretary of State's website, giving it to a family member. They want it to be someone you live with. If it's a family member, like it has to be like a grandmother, someone you have immediate ties to. If you're not related, you have to have lived with them for 6 months. This can have issues when it comes to college students. If you have a roommate, you're trying to assist your roommate with their absentee ballot, because a lot of the college students are registered at home, not where they go to school. So your roommate won't be able to assist you. If you're a caregiver, you won't be able to assist the person that you care for. Like, oh, you need me to take your ballot to the mailbox, or you need me to print this out for you and bring this form. That's a no-go. And so we need people to show up in Montgomery when this bill hits the floor, when they allow the community input to be had upon this. I think it's what we need to focus on right now. We got CD2, we got the trial in February 2025. 50-meter target right now should be Senate Bill 1. Everybody, the D9, all our NAACP branches, any org that's a 501c3 that does voting rights work, we all should be focused on SB 1. You're wondering, what can I do? How can I have a part in this movement? This right here is your time to shine. I don't know, if it passes, it's going to make things very difficult. And what it does is it really impacts our community. I don't see other people that are not people of color, assisting their community with the absentee ballot. So it's to hinder the Black vote. And then I see we were asked to talk about CD2. I need people to be aware of what's on the ballot. Know the counties that are in that new district. There's 13 counties: Barber County, Butler, Bullock, Crenshaw, a portion of Clark, Conecuh, Macon, a portion of Mobile County, only the city of Mobile, 90% of the city of Mobile, Macon, Monroe, Montgomery, Pike, Russell, and Washington. The district stretches from Mississippi to Georgia. So know what district you're in, especially for my people in Mobile. Mobile has not been split. Montgomery has been split for maybe about 2 decades, between 2 and 7. We've been whole down here. And a lot of people think that they're in the new majority, possibly. It's not majority Black because it's only 48%. So we just call it an opportunity district. But a lot of people think they are in the district. And I'm like, you live in the county, you're not. So educating our people to check their voter registration. It'll tell you what your districts are. And knowing the candidates on the ballot. Down here, we had nobody Black run for Congress down here in 2022. And now we're in this new district, and there are 11 Democrats and 7 Republicans left. Do your research on the people running. And if you happen to not live in one of those 13 counties, we all know people that do. So having these conversations with your family members on what the district looks like, who's running, we need to be educated. Don't rely on these filled out sample ballots that you have at the polling place and just vote how that tells you to vote. We have these mini computers that we carry with us. that you can use to educate yourself. And it's not great just to say, oh, I voted. Did you make an educated vote? And don't let the first time you see the ballot be when you go to the voting polls. That's what frustrates me the most. People are like, oh, I voted. And I'm like, well, did you pull your sample ballot beforehand? Because they're available on the Secretary of State website for every county in our state right now. So research, have the conversations, have a voting plan. Researching the candidates is a part of having that plan. It isn't just showing up on March 5th. It's having a plan and knowing who you're voting for going in. Don't let no paper that somebody give you walking up to the polls decide who your vote is. Be educated, watch these forums that are being had, and let's get it done, because it will be a slap in the face if we do not get a Black candidate who cares about the concerns of Black people in this seat, because it's not an automatic win for us. And so what this will come down to is voter turnout.
So I just want to recap what you said. I'm going to try to do a quick summary. Senate Bill 1. Did you hear what she said? Wanting to criminalize assisting someone with an absentee ballot. Now, raise your hand if you have helped someone with an absentee ballot in the past. So what they're trying, right? We could have been criminalized with me trying to help my daddy at one point.
Take us to jail.
Try to take me to jail to help him exercise his right to vote just because he couldn't move, or helping people who are in a nursing home just because they couldn't move. Criminalizing helping with absentee balloting. Senate Bill 1. That's what she said is one of the first things that you can do. Read, become aware. If you're able to, when you're in Montgomery, when they're out, when they're trying to discuss it, go down there, make your voice being heard, reach out to your representatives, your Senate person, to let them know that you don't appreciate this attempt to dismantle and not allow individuals their right to vote. And also, one thing that she mentioned is she called it the opportunity district. I like that. She said it's not majority Black. Now, that's let's clarify. Now, she named all of those 13 counties. And earlier, Senator Stewart said he has four of his 8 counties in his Alabama senatorial district are impacted. And I'm not going to try to remember all 13. I normally I know them, but I think right now, because I'm so excited and hyped up, I may leave one out. But we will definitely share this information. And also, she mentioned about knowing who is on the ballot. We will be sharing that information for both parties, for the Republican Party as well as the Democratic Party, to see who is on your ballot for each of the respective counties in the state of Alabama. Evan, would you shed some light on, you put it in our chat about the nominee for the congressional district 2. If you just want to shed a little light on that, why it's important.
Oh, just to really, I think Shalila kind of broke it down to where it can't be broken down anymore, and I know Khadija will too. I'll just say it's when we want to talk about, what we're actually looking at here. Every time there's an election, you're hiring poll workers, campaign managers. There's radio stations that are getting ads that are purchased. There are people that are hiring caterers and DJs and security for fundraising events. It has an effect on the local economy. There are people that all of us know who are going to be pulled one way or another by the different campaigns that are, all trying to vie for the votes of people that live in congressional district 2 counties between now and March 5th. I hope one thing that we can keep in mind is, it's supposed to be competitive. That's what it is. And people have to show why they're unique and why they feel like they're the best person for the job. I also hope that we keep our eye on the bigger picture, and that we know that whatever happens as a result of that election, and probably a runoff in April, that folks are going to have to come together. This is not the time to say my person didn't get the seed and I wanted this, I wanted that, I'm taking my ball and going home. If we all do that, we won't have a home to go back to. And so this is a time for us to really understand, when we have an opportunity to think about congressional level politics, we have to elevate from what we might normally do if it's city council, board of education, and some of the seats that we're used to looking at. And we actually do have some really exciting candidates this go round. They wouldn't be running if they didn't feel like they. Most of them would not be running if they didn't feel that they had a chance to win. They have a chance to win because of the outcome of this case. This case had a chance to make it because of what folks did way back in 1965. So we're all standing on somebody else's shoulders. It's important to keep that in mind as we're looking forward to not only November, but really beyond this year.
Beyond this year. Wow. Beyond this year. And one thing he said with this congressional level politics just leveling up and coming together. Coming together. Remember that. Coming together, because sometimes we don't come together. We need to make sure that we come together so that we have this opportunity to level up, to help the people have the opportunity to have a second congressperson of color, to allow opportunities for people who look like us so that they can have the opportunity, so that they can have the resources. No more environmental injustices, but an additional voice to help level up the individuals within these communities. Kadita, I would like to ask you, this is our we're going to sort of have our last question, because I said we can be on here forever. And I know everybody wants to watch the Detroit Lions play because they're excited about the Detroit Lions and we don't want to interfere with that. But Kadita, could you just do you have any final comments that you would like to add regarding this entire experience and your hope for the future?
Yeah, I want to leave everyone with a quote. W.E.B. Du Bois said, "As the South goes, the nation goes." And I want us to be thinking about what that really means, especially considering what we just talked about with the case. And I also want to say, similar to what Evan just said about sticking together, I think the other side is very clear on how they want to divide us, and it doesn't help us in the end if we're trying to achieve goals for our community. So I would definitely reiterate sticking together, because when we it was explained to me by a friend most recently, if you see one Black person running a room, everybody takes off running. That's how we need to be in this space. We all need to be, there with each other, one band, one sound. So that's what I want to say.
One band, being together, that togetherness. We're going to have to band together. And I like that quote that you stated by W.E.B. Du Bois, that, what did you say? As
the South goes, the nation goes.
As the South goes, absolutely. As the South goes, the nation goes. I like that one. Evan, you've told us what you've gained. What would you like to add, and what is your hope for the future?
I hope y'all keep doing these. I hope you keep hosting. I wish this was something I could watch every night or at least once a week. So we'll see. This is so well organized. No, seriously. And this is just a credit to, I say this, and I'm not saying this because this is a Delta event. I think Shalila and Kadita have heard me say this. There is something very unique about the role of this sorority on this issue and in this case in this state. And I think if we could just figure out ways to make sure that your counterparts nationally understand it and can replicate it in their states, I think there's something that's very powerful that can be unleashed by the Divine Nine, and the Deltas play a leadership role in that. And so that's encouraging to me, because we get tired as people that work with nonprofits of always seeing the same types of people come into the conferences and the training, and when Deltas do training and when Rolling to the Polls is doing something, you really are built. It's a multidisciplinary, multi-class. It's a lot of different types of Black women and Black people that come in the same space, and everybody doesn't have the credibility or the authenticity to build that type of audience. You do, and that's an amazing, beautiful strength. And so I hope that that gives me hope, and I look forward to continuing to build with you and support however I can.
Well, I can say that with our political awareness and involvement for our local Selma alumni chapter. I can't commit to, I'm not going to speak for the chapter, but I think that this is something that we definitely know that we need to continue, especially since you all have mentioned that this is not over. This is only the beginning. They are ready. And we need to make sure that we are ready to help you all so that we have a fair foundation for all. That's all we want. It's just fairness for all. And I know sometimes people say, well, my fairness is different. No, criminalizing helping someone with an absentee ballot, that is not fair. And as Shalila mentioned, who does it normally, who will we be criminalizing the most? So, Shalila, what would you like to add regarding this experience and your hope for the future?
My hope for the future kind of goes along the same lines of what Khadija and Evan said, that I hope we're able to all come together, regardless of who wins the CD2 seat. We will go into a runoff. There's too many people running. But knowing that it takes unity behind that one candidate so that we can make sure we get someone who care about our needs in the seat. And I just hope that we're able to continue to educate people. Turnout for the primaries are normally low, 20%, and just continue to educate people on the importance of utilizing your voice. And like, I think it's in Delta. I'm in so many orgs, NCNW, NAACP, Delta. I'm pretty sure it's Delta. There is power in our vote. And, it's behind you. There's power in our vote. And knowing that we know that, but all of our people don't know that. Even knowing that we come from Alabama and we've led the way, our people don't know that. And so just knowing that, take your rest when you need to take your rest, but also knowing that I feel like we have obligations to do that work. And so I'm just looking forward to the work that is to come. I like years like this year, like presidential years, so presidential election years, because it just allows me to connect more with my community. Doing this work allows you to learn more about the people. So I'm out in CD2 now and spend most of my time in Mobile, but because of this congressional district, I'm learning more about rural Alabama, the issues with the plumbing in Lowndes County and healthcare issues in Pike County, and then the closing of the hospitals and labor and delivery units in Monroe County. And so a lot of that can be tied back to voting and making sure you have the right people in the seats to bring those resources to you. So I'm hopeful, and I'm only 34, so I got the energy to do the work. So y'all will see me in the streets.
I love it. I love it. I'm sure we'll see all of you because we will be there arm in arm with you. I know I will be there arm in arm to support you in any way. I'll be one of those quiet foot soldiers. You all, Evan, Shalila, Khadija, you tell me what you need to do. I write a letter, but you just help me so that I can help you all continue your fight, because I do not want you to get weary. You all excite me. You make me invigorated. You make me excited. You make me hopeful. You make me, it's just indescribable with seeing you all. And like I said, like the first time we had our little run through on Thursday, I was like in awe of you because I've been reading about you for so long, and it's so great. You are such humble servants. You are servant leaders. I know that I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. I'm not able to see what everybody's putting in the chat, but I'm sure that there's wonderful information. As our president stated, we will make sure that we save this. Evan, we can't do this every week now. We can't do it every week, but we will definitely try to come together again to get the message out to everybody who's impacted. Someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Shalila or Khadija, I can't remember, but everybody knows at least one person in one of these impacted counties. I actually have relatives that are in Conecuh County, and I sent it to them. I was like, hey, I need you to listen. I need you to be aware. I need you to go to the polls and tell everybody at the church at Sucker Mount Zion what they need to do in Evergreen on March the 5th. So Thank you for your time. I don't know if we have any questions from any of our forum participants. Let me see if I'm going to go to the comments to see if we have any forum participant questions. I mean, from the who I don't see any right now, but no questions thus far. But I think we have great time. It's almost 5:20. I am going to let our president, but before our president comes on, we're going to see if we can try Mary Harrington one more time. She had some technical difficulties, but she said she really wanted to say some words. There she is. Okay, Mary. Everybody snaps. There she is. She didn't give up. Mary Harrington. Mary? Okay, I'm going to read her. Do you want me to read your comment or do you have sound? I'm going to read her comment. Mary Harrington, she is the co-chair for social action with Sarah Alicia Somerville. She says, this has been awesome. Kudos to the trio for what they have done. I certainly concur that we must do our part to keep their work from being in vain. Senate Bill 1 must be at the forefront of our attention. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Sor Harrington. We got your comments in. And now, like I said, thank you to the panelists. This has been awesome. I continue to learn so much for you all. I've taken so many notes. I feel like I'm back in my doctoral classes. I've got a lot of homework I need to make sure I study up on. I am going to pass the mic to the president, Sor President Earsbrooks Beasley, to wrap up and to conclude our forum for this evening.
I don't know if you all can see. I have my notes. I got notes all over the place here. And I wish we could keep them all up. Can we keep the 5 of us up, please? And let me go ahead, because I always forget at the end to thank our technology team of 2. They're our gurus. So let me say that first. That might be backwards, but I don't want to forget. They've been moving us in and out and keeping us straight. So to Sora Dozier and Sora Johnson, thank you. But yeah, I got these notes here, and they may seem all over the place. And I sit here and I think about, I was born in 1963, lived in Selma. And a lot of stuff that happened then between 63 and 65, I heard about, or some family members or church members participated in. And when I look at those pictures, even today, I saw the unity at the time with all of those efforts. The march from Selma to Montgomery, and just the different events, even after, as Judge Bryant mentioned, the incident with Jimmy Lee Walker, I don't want to miss a name, and how that perpetuated, the events after that and everything that came over. And I guess what I'm hearing, and you all can shake your head yes or no, we need to get back to that. We need to get back to that passion. We need to get back to that energy that people came together, because it's not here. It's getting there. There are pockets of where we see that happening, like with the 3 of you. And when you all talk about who our leaders are now, as Sora Jones said, you all are it, plus the others, but you all are it. And you're going to bring some of the other of us along, I think, especially from today. And we appreciate that so much. But, and like I said, my notes are all over the place, so y'all forgive me. So work the polls. I worked the polls. And let me tell you how I got there. I was going to vote at the same location for years. And I realized that the poll workers were either aging out or dying. And something said to me, you need to come do this. Your neighbor, she's 82 and she's coming to work. And then maybe the next time she wasn't there because she passed. And I'm not a spring chicken, but I felt that it was my time to step up and do that. And that is one of the things that in Delta, we encourage our SOARs to work the polls. And as Sora Somerville said, it helps us to keep the polls honest. And of course, it helps that natural rotation of just that life cycle go. So I encourage everyone to please volunteer at the polls. I love the comment, as the South goes, the nation goes. I get that, and I hope we all understand. And I think that's true to just history in itself. I heard Sword Dowdy, Alabama doesn't want to take the L. We know what that L means. I get that, and I bet they don't. I bet they don't. The state doesn't. Don't be distracted. Do not be distracted. You got to stay focused. I heard you guys. You got to stay focused. Main thing is we got to get out and vote, be it March 5th, November, whatever date is in November, whenever it is, people, we have got to vote like never before. And not just because, and yeah, I hope you all feel where I'm coming from, we have a Black man running for president. We got to vote in every election because we came out in droves for that. We all know that. But it should always be like that, not just because of one possible milestone. I'm reading from my notes, y'all. Some of it I can't even read because now I'm just feeling all over the place. And I think you guys can add a new member to your team because our chair of our political action and social action, y'all see, she knows it, and I've been telling her for a long time. You know this stuff. Come on, we need you. Come on, keep pumping. So if y'all need an analyst, or I heard the word or saw the word over here, investigator, to help you with research and etc. regarding these political, she's your girl, Dr. Margaret M. Jones, in terms of the social aspect and etc. So I say that to thank her so much for moderating today. I also want to thank all of our speakers that came in. I don't know how many or if we can pull others in, but to Judge Bryan and Senator Stewart, and to our two Alabama State Social Action co-chairs, we definitely appreciate you. Evan, I heard you, and see, my chapter, they talks about me because they know I like to go and let's get it. Every week sounds good to me. It sounds good to me. And I think, if not every week, once a month, every other month, we got to do more. We got to keep putting the word out there. We got to keep doing our part. And what I hear you all say, when we do it, you guys are coming. So I appreciate partnerships and just want to thank you all so much for joining us and doing this. For us, again, as I said earlier, this is big, and hey, that's how we do it in Selma, historic Selma. We do big things, and I feel like we've done it today. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. And we are just, I know Sora Jones and myself, I probably didn't even read all my notes, but I'm going to leave it at that because I've learned a lot, and I hope those who have joined us today have as well. Again, the video will be out there, I believe, on the YouTube. So we're going to share it, and hopefully others will watch.
Thank you, President Beasley. I will say that I've had people who have been texting me, just not in our area. One of my best friends, who's a Sora in Texas, and she's from Arkansas, and she was just like, this is spot on. People in Tennessee who I know, spot on. And again, we definitely, Delta Sigma Theta is social action, and we will make sure that we do our part. Thank you to our two social action co-chairs who are present with us today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. Again, Shalila, Evan, Kadita, President Beasley, Senator Stewart, Judge Bryant, to the tech team, I appreciate you. This was wonderful. Thank you. And go forth. Go ahead. I was going to say, go forth and be great, but you already are. Continue to be great.
And let me add to it, just continue to put on for your city, for your state, hey, for your people, and just know that we are with you. I don't know who make all them songs up and whatever, but whatever they are, we down with it.
All right. And
it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sora Heritage.
She's we got some sound there. Thank you.
I've been going in and out. You did an awesome job.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
To quote the late Barbara Jordan, social action is not a spectator sport. You all have put it on today.
Right.
Thank
I
you
love
so
it.
much.
Social action is not a spectator sport. I love it. I love it. So thank you. To everyone who was a part of this forum for pulling it together. Check our YouTube, our social media platform, share it. Continue to share it to anyone to get the information out, because we were able to hear from those individuals who took the time to go before the Supreme Court to argue for us to have this opportunity district, this second congressional district. We're forever indebted and grateful for your time with us today. And we look forward to collaborating. I know I look forward to collaborating with each of you in the future. Shalila, I got your number. Evan, I have your email. Kadita, I found you. So you know I'm gonna be there with you all. All right, have a good night and thank you.
And
Thank you.
The west side will dance all night. The east side will help you live free. The south side will help you live right. The west side will help you believe. The north side will dance all night. The south side will help you live free. The west side will help you live right.